Welcome to the Joanne Avison podcast. This episode is a little impromptu and unusual because somebody left a long comment on our YouTube channel and it merited a response. So I'm going to read the comment and then I'm going to respond. So stay with me because I think it's very useful. The other thing is I take great care of the comments on YouTube and the people that comment. So the only ones I remove are where there's bullying or just unnecessary rudeness. But this is different. Dear Joanne, and I'm reading from the letter, it is true as you so eloquently describe the body's fascia, like a liquid crystal matrix, which is also magically innerved with proprioceptors that communicate with the brain to coordinate a variety of positions the human body is capable of, and at the same time maintain equilibrium and stability in conjunction with the gravitational forces of Earth. Although structurally fascia is a non-linear support matrix around every cell, organ, muscle, tendon, ligament and the bones, one who is studying these concepts, I believe, must also realise that the skeletal structure is in fact linear. Bear with me, let's get to the end before I go off the deep end. And because the muscles, tendons, ligaments and the fascia innerved with proprioceptive nerves that coordinates all of it can be manipulated, so too can the fascia, in a sense, be delicately and ever so deftly manipulated or spoken to, like a horse or dog whisperer. We could be called fascia whisperers. Have you listened to my podcasts? Or fascia dancers, gracefully dancing with our passive partner with beautiful, graceful dance or yoga-like movements that can perform magical structural realignment of the linear skeletal system. Really? We'll answer in a minute. Let's keep going. It goes on. And of course, we know the skeletal structure is quite frequently pulled out of place by a variety of stressors upon it throughout this non-linear fascial matrix, which we think is separate, right? Really? The process that I absolutely adore and have evolved with over a decade now, and most frequently incorporate with my sessions, involves a variety of massage methods to relax and marinate the tough fibres, which can, and I believe should, include the use of smooth lava basalt or Himalayan salt hot stones that help heat up the fascia as if like a tough roast in a slow cooker, which becomes amazingly tenderized, hydrated, and naturally relaxed and supple. And of course, a saline environment is an excellent conductor of electricity. The body electric we are. It goes on. Trigger points or tender points that remain left over, kind of like gold nuggets when panning for gold, are now more easily felt within the more supple, hydrated muscles, tendons, ligaments and fascia, which of course become more pliable, which then makes it easier to perform a variety of strain, counterstrain, myofascial, neuromuscular, positional release methods, and increasingly wider range of motion stretches and rotational spiral movements. And the overall lengthening and alignment of the body that has been thoroughly pre-evaluated becomes magically longer and aligned 100% of the time. The SMRT method involves basically going towards the tension to release the tension. This is most effectively performed, I think is meant here, by both visualizing I recommend eyes closed to feel and see the holographic matrix, and utilising the skeletal structures the therapist is manipulating at the time, with the specific intention of actually realigning the, don't forget, linear skeletal structures via the joints, which, along with the bones, indeed have a natural linear design configuration, along with the soft tissues attached to it, a system that in fact does resemble the physics of cables and pulleys. In whose world? I believe the magic and science of physics and physiology, which branch of physics, seriously, evolved together when we can facilitate both with the specific intention of these, to date, as far as I am aware, very unique methods. Neuromuscular therapy, the real deal, has been around many, many decades, and it's somewhat more sophisticated than this. But anyway, we go on. Utilising a variety of methods of advanced myofascial neuromuscular positional release, which includes the SMRT, that combines a variety of these methods of very gently and gradually guided movement of one or more joints at a time, depending on the body parts being manipulated. To be sure, this is not a snap and crack method utilised by most chiropractors. It does, to a certain extent, resemble osteopathy methods, but involves far more time to accomplish the nurturing and marinating methods and to effectively facilitate the 0-point weightless-like effect via the delicate and deft body positioning that we then facilitate via the magic energy in our hands and fingertips, sending that energy via our fingertips to the proprioceptive nerves, to the brain, that understands there's no need to hold on to the tension in a weightless environment. We go on, and it's nearly finished. We can then guide the skeletal structure into alignment. Quite a magical, mystical journey experience this is for both practitioner and your precious treasures, living art sculptures. In my world, and I quote, "At least this to me is a most magical mind, body and spirit therapeutic massage experience, as I love to call it, gourmet smorgasbord massage and bodywork. So yummy." Right. This is not a disagreement of style or preference. This is a response to deep misunderstanding of biology, physics, embryology, and movement, dressed up in inappropriate language from the mystical to the neuromuscular. And that's why I'm responding. And I'm going to start at the very beginning. The phrase, like a liquid crystal, matters. Fascia is not like a liquid crystal matrix. It is a liquid crystal matrix. Like sounds like something material, reality, into a metaphor. Biologically, liquid crystal behaviour is not poetry. It is a very real, potent property of soft matter physics, and you are made of soft matter. That single error sets the tone for almost everything that follows. The next point I'm going to pick up is the claim that fascia, let me just check, is non-linear, but the skeleton is linear. This is the central fatal error. That's a mistake. There is no linear skeleton. There are no straight bones. There are no linear joints. There are no pin joint mechanics in living humans. None. Anywhere. Bones do not arrive first and somehow have soft tissue wrapped around them as if they were like kind of wooden struts inside a puppet. The bones complete their forming very late in the neonatal development and after, And they do that in response to metabolism and force transmission. Never, ever straight. Show me a straight bone in the human body. They are curved. They are torsional, spiral, lattice-like structures that actually harden to an extent from within, and they are part of a tension compression architecture, not a frame with soft bits hung off it like material. Not one bone in the body is straight. You are a nonlinear biologic form by definition. Hold a femur, look at it. Find me a straight line, even when it isn't in the body. Find me a body where a bone isn't round. Find me an X-ray with a straight bone. You can't, there aren't any. Calling the skeleton linear collapses embryology and anatomy and living form with Lego. That is not how we become. And from there, the logic slides into manipulation as if it's correction. The idea that fascia and skeleton can be manipulated, realigned, or guided back into their rightfully linear place assumes that the human body is mechanically assembled, structurally misset, and in need of some sort of external forcer to put it right. And that is an approach I challenge on every level of movement and manual therapy. Living bodies do not work like that, and humans being definitely don't. We self-organise, we adapt under load, we respond to forces through transmitting them as living, non-linear biologic forms. We don't respond very well to instructions. Bones are not corrected from the outside unless they've been damaged or broken. They are supported to reorganise from within if we know how to move and if the therapists you're working with know how to manipulate. But we don't put them straight in a non-linear wrapping. That's just nonsense. And it's huge. It matters. Because this letter goes on into heating, marinating, softening, tenderizing, as if this is universally beneficial. And this is where it becomes potentially dangerous, because softening, while it may help some bodies in certain situations, will destabilize others. Think about it. If someone is hypermobile, if they are pre or postnatal, if they are people with very connective tissue sensitive physiology, or there are inflammatory presentations, or they are young growing bodies, they all show different characteristics, and softness is not necessarily a symbol of health. Compliance is not equal to function, because pliability and what we call flexibility without sufficient stiffness and resilience literally destroys our blueprint, which is the ability to rebound. If your model is make the tissue softer, you will help a certain subset of people for sure. However, you will harm another. That's not good practice. That's roulette. Another thing that nearly drove me nutty in this was the bit about trigger points. I come across a lot of practitioners with a very limited understanding of trigger points. They've read about them or been taught that there's 18 of them and they do this and they mean that. I'm very fortunate to work with the people that were part of the whole growing approach to trigger points. And in this comment, they are described as leftovers, gold nuggets to be found once the tissue is softened enough. This actually trivializes neuromuscular tone, but it also betrays a logic that tells the story of a very poor understanding of fascia, let alone myofascial trigger points. Trigger points are not leftovers. They're not treasures. They are organized, protective strategies of an intelligent body. We could call them context-dependent responses. Now, what do I mean by that? Basically, that removing them without understanding why they exist in the first place actually can remove function, not dysfunction. Let's just go with the points. I quote, lengthening an alignment 100% of the time. Honestly, this is indefensible. There is no universal alignment. There is no permanent lengthening. Tissue doesn't lengthen, it eases. There is no 100% outcome in living systems. Every unique body seeks its own dynamic balance, not fixed states in a one-method-fits-all claim. Anyone offering certainty like that is not describing physiology or real living people. They're just selling a belief system. And neuromuscular language being borrowed to make it work is just misused. Spontaneous release, positional release, 0 point, weightless environment. We don't live in a weightless environment. We live in a gravity field. We're gravity bound all the time. We're built in profound relationship to and as ground reaction force. Release without rebound is collapse. Release without context disengages resilience rather than restoring it. And then we go into the energy language used, frankly, as a substitute for logic or any understanding of fascial properties. Energy sent through tissue for the mystical, magical effect of the fingers. There's nothing mystical about hands. Trained hands respond as fascia to fascia. The nervous system is not designed to let go until we die. It is about appropriate response, not the release of the ability to respond. We want to calibrate that ability to respond. We want to make it resilient naturally. Hands are made of fascia. They are sensing tissue. When we touch, fascia meets fascia. Touch is information, it's confirmation, it's sometimes transformation, and it is in conversation, not dictatorship. That information can definitely change states. That is kind of already extraordinary. Personally, I don't think you need kind of mystical language to explain it. I find myself looking for anatomical literacy and physiological accuracy to make sense of each client uniquely, including those that are in need of more tone, not necessarily unraveling the remains of tone that they have. That, to me, is dangerous. And finally, the client is described as a living art sculpture. I personally don't think our clients are art objects. I think we're adaptive, load-bearing, self-organising beings with real lives. We have to walk on land. We have to lift, recover, age, parent, work, grow, dance, move, lift things, lower things on imperfect ground, and sleep well, and enjoy our lives. In real life, in a gravitational field, the goal is function, resilience, adaptability, and the freedom to move well in the real world and meet the demands naturally of our life with resilience, with spring, with vitality, with longevity. So this is why I'm objecting. Not because the language is poetic, not because it's enthusiastic, but because it's mechanically incorrect, biologically completely misleading, potentially harmful and wrapped in metaphors that, while they sound convincing, are in fact inaccurately borrowed. And this channel is not a billboard for other people's methods. It's a space for absolutely genuine inquiry with rigorous thinking and respect for how living bodies actually work. If you want to engage here, please ask a question. If you want to promote your method, please do it elsewhere. And please don't confuse the language of fascia as a sort of a trend with physiological truth and anatomical accuracy. Just saying.